He arrived 10 minutes early, smoothing down the front of his jacket as he stepped into the quiet cafe on the corner of Maple Street. Soft music hummed in the background, and the smell of fresh coffee wrapped around him like a familiar comfort. He chose a small table by the window, ordered a latte, and checked his phone for the third time in 2 minutes. No new messages. He tried to calm himself. Blind dates were always awkward, but tonight felt different. His sister had insisted this one was special. "She's kind, thoughtful, and looking for something real," she'd said. After years of failed relationships and lonely evenings, he had finally agreed. He glanced at his watch, 5 minutes past 7. It was fine, people ran late. He took a sip of his coffee and looked around, scanning faces. Couples leaned close, laughing softly. A group of college students crowded around a table near the back. Near the door, an elderly man read a newspaper. No sign of the woman he was supposed to meet. 7:15. Still nothing. He sent a polite text, "Hey, I'm here, table by the window." No reply. A familiar disappointment settled into his chest. He told himself not to jump to conclusions, but the quiet fear he'd learned too well began to rise. He remembered the last date that had ended with a rushed goodbye. The one before that, where she admitted she wasn't ready for commitment. And the countless evenings spent eating takeout alone on his couch, wondering what was wrong with him. 7:30. His phone remained silent. He exhaled slowly and stared into his coffee, watching the foam settle. Maybe this was just how his life went. He showed up, he tried, and people disappeared. He considered leaving. Pride urged him to stand, toss a few bills on the table, and walk out with his dignity intact. But something made him stay. Maybe it was stubborn hope, or maybe it was simply that he wasn't ready to face another quiet night alone. That's when he noticed her. She stood just inside the cafe door, hesitating, clutching a worn diaper bag in one hand and holding a small boy's hand with the other. Her coat looked thin for the chilly evening, and her eyes darted nervously around the room. The boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, pressed close to her side, his cheeks flushed from the cold. They looked out of place among the comfortable diners. She whispered something to the child, then guided him toward an empty table near the wall. As they passed his seat, their eyes met briefly. Her gaze carried exhaustion, embarrassment, and something else he couldn't quite name. He looked away, feeling oddly intrusive. A minute later, he saw her approach the counter, speaking quietly to the barista. Her shoulders slumped as she listened to the reply. Whatever she'd asked for, the answer hadn't been good. She returned to the table with nothing. The boy climbed onto his chair, swinging his legs, while she sat across from him, forcing a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. He tried to mind his own business. He really did. But when the boy's stomach growled loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, and the woman closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if holding back tears, something inside him shifted. He stood. He picked up his coffee and walked over. "Hi," he said gently. "I don't mean to interrupt, but would you like to join me?" She blinked in surprise. "Oh, I know, that's okay, we were just—" "It's fine," he said quickly. "I was waiting for someone who doesn't seem to be coming, and I've got a table by the window. It's warmer over there." She hesitated, instinctively protective. The boy looked up at her, then at him, curious. "I'm Daniel," he added, "and I promise I'm not a serial killer." That earned a small, tired laugh. "I'm Sarah," she said quietly, "and this is Noah." Noah gave a shy wave. They moved to his table. At first the conversation was cautious, polite, safe. He ordered hot chocolate for Noah and a sandwich to share, insisting when Sarah tried to refuse. "You don't have to do this," she said. "I want to," he replied simply. As Noah dug into the sandwich with enthusiasm, Sarah finally relaxed a little. "I'm sorry," she said. "We weren't trying to intrude. We were just waiting for a bus that never came. Daniel nodded. Rough night. She let out a breath that sounded like it had been building for weeks. You could say that. She told him slowly at first, then with growing honesty. She left an unhealthy relationship months ago. She was staying in a temporary shelter, working part-time, trying to save enough for a small apartment. Tonight, she'd used her last few dollars on bus fare to get Noah to a free clinic across town because he'd had a fever. The clinic had closed early. The return bus never showed. I didn't want him to go to sleep hungry, she said, brushing a crumb from Noah's chin. Daniel listened, heart tightening. He hadn't planned on this evening turning into a confession booth. He certainly hadn't planned on meeting a struggling mother and child, but something about their presence felt intentional. Noah finished his hot chocolate and leaned against his mother, eyelids drooping. Daniel checked his phone again. Still no message from his blind date. He smiled softly. Looks like my plans changed, he said. Sarah frowned. What do you mean? He shrugged. I came here expecting to meet someone. I think I did. She studied him, uncertain. He paid the bill before she could protest, then helped her bundle Noah into his coat.